Talk to me about fear, because as the toe-in started and you started getting better at it, the access to waves started getting bigger and bigger, and now you're getting to these fear challenges that, not many humans have experienced before. Is there a formula for fear? And how did you approach that? How do you approach that? And again, it's weird because you're like the jack of all trades. Like, there's guys that want to build the thing in the lab, but you got to go. You're like the test pilot and the engineer, and there's a lot going on. There's only one Laird, So talk to me about that.
Well, it's interesting after watching the documentary on Alex, and at one point when they do the study and they said, yeah, he's not like normal people. His brain doesn't process fear the same way. And I can say I understood that quite well, actually, and that my upbringing was such that I was constantly in danger growing up as a young child. And, I wouldn't say it was like Jungle Book, but it's a little bit like Jungle Book, where you're the little human baby in the jungle and there's a giant Black Panther and a huge bear and other stuff. And first of all, I don't think the human body is capable of being in fight or flight that much. I think it's physically, it's too taxing. The system is more intelligent than that, than to allow you to be in that state of consciousness, because it's too taxing. The system couldn't survive just constantly. Like, Alex couldn't make a climb for 4 or 5 hours in fight or flight at the level that any one of us would be if you just put us anywhere on that, put us in that exposure. And so I feel like I could relate to that, because growing up, I was, people go, well, what was the scariest thing that ever happened to you? And I'm like, first of all, we have a mechanism to cut those scary things out. And when you're truly scared, your ability to memorize is very fragmented, because it uses a different part of your brain. Your brain shifts and you don't have room to make images, to store memory. You're just trying to deal with the things you have to do immediate to survive. The brain's like, yeah, memories aren't important right now. Survival is important, because we won't even need memories if we don't survive. So it adjusts the way we look at this, that we're looking at it. So we don't. So when somebody goes, hey, can you remember? I remember like snapshots of moments that were scary, but I also grew up, getting sucked out to sea a lot. Like this was a daily occurrence. And this is something that I've kind of started to understand after pulling back and looking at how I grew up and why wasn't I more scared? Why don't I have I think we have there's a certain percentage of us that have a better ability to be scared. I think that there's a group of us that are designed to be able to handle fear better in order to help the species survive. There's some research around dolphins, and when they're threatened, they put the babies and the mothers in the middle. They create a ball, and they put the babies and the mothers in the middle, the adults around that, the older males around that, the outside, and then the young adolescent males are on the very front line, because they're have an ability to be scared. Like, they're just or not be scared, just to not know. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they're just more expendable. Like, I'm not sure, but there's a percentage of us, and we know through some science that there's people that are just predisposed to do dangerous things better. And then if you're in an environment that allows you to have that high exposure with that mechanism, so you're predisposed to be a kind of a risk taker. Now I put you in an environment where you're being exposed to risk consistently. Now all of a sudden you just have a different relationship to risk. There's an incredible book, Christine Olmner, who talks about the art of fear. And she talks about the envelope and growing the envelope of fear. And that you start out with this envelope of fear and it's this big. And then I go outside of that envelope and then it gets this big. And then I go outside of that envelope and it gets this big. And then I go outside. And eventually my envelope for fear is this big. Everybody else's is that big, but our fear is this big because we've been outside. So we're not scared. We're not scared. And it doesn't mean you don't have fear. And how you use the fear is a different thing. That's a whole nother subject, where when you're able to take fear and use that for strength and for decision making, then you become, then you have a special power, right?
Can you consciously do that?
What's that?
Can you consciously do that? Like take the
I don't, I
fear.
don't, I don't know if you can.
Okay.
I
But you
think it
do it.
becomes conscious. I think it becomes conscious later because I think it's influence and you make conscious decisions based on that ability that you're able to harness that energy and you're not, it's the old freeze or run or, fight or flight, right? You're going to make those decisions and you're going to decide what to do. I told somebody, I go, if you ever want to see what fear looks like, watch an antelope run from a cheetah. I go, that's what fear looks like. And fear is fast. And most of the time faster than the cheetah. And the cheetah is the fastest animal in the world. So how fast is fear? How intelligent is fear? So fear is your friend. Harness it, use it like a thing. Fear isn't your enemy and you're trying not to be scared because we're already past that now. Now we're highly, we're already fear. We're into fear. We get exposed to it. Now we have this other skill that we can do. And so through that process, then you start being able to do these things that from the outside, when people look upon those things, they think that doesn't even make sense. Like that's either stupid or foolish, or they're going to create some sort of disclaimer to write off the fact that this is actually maybe a skill and it's one that's rare. And so, so they don't, well, part of it is so that people don't have to be responsible for themselves for why aren't they not doing more in their own lives. I mean, that's, so we just go, hey, yeah, throw the disclaimer at him. And that makes me cool. Like, cause he's dumb or that's stupid. And so that makes me okay. Cause that means I don't have to take any risk, even though maybe intuitively they feel like they might want to, and it's an interesting thing in the book. There's a great section where she talks about in The Art of Fear. She talks about taking a kid to a water park and then there being a giant slide. And then the kid going, oh, I'm really scared. And then the adult going, oh no, don't be scared. You don't have to be scared. That's the wrong way to approach fear. You go, yeah, you should be scared. That's scary. And that's designed to be scary. Are you ready to be scared? Like, are you ready to be scared today? Like, if you're not, then we won't go. But if you're ready to be scared and you want to be scared, let's go do that. And so, and I think I was exposed to these opportunities a lot growing up, jumping off waterfalls, being in giant shore.
Is it true when you were 7 years old, you did like a 60-foot jump into the water?
Yeah.
Okay. Just another day in Hawaii.
That draw, but that draw, you're drawn to that thing, right? You're drawn to it. I mean, it's not, and it's, I mean, listen, we go about what we do because, people ask Gabby this, when we approach something dangerous, we become militant. We become like military, like slow and smooth is fast. I mean, our protocol, the way we approach and how we act about danger and fear is with such respect. And we do it in such a way. There's no just foolhardy. I mean, that's, we have a couple sayings, ride to ride another day. You know what I mean? Like we have mottos that we use that there's no shame in a failed attempt, but there's no honor in no attempt. I mean, these are like things that we live by that speak to us. And the way we approach the ocean is we're methodical. We slow down. We tie the knot twice. I mean, everything is, our training is geared to that. We have no shame in walking away and going, not today. Today's not the day. Don't push it and that's where, that's where some struggle came in when we started filming and using cameras and being like, okay, well, the camera crew's here and everything. And you're like, yeah, no, not today. And they're like, well, but we're here and everything's ready to go. And it's like, those are the things, or other people. Like if you start getting influenced by other people, oh, come on, what's wrong? You scared, or what, not good enough for you or whatever. And just anything that would take us out of using our instincts, knowing, what, that just doesn't feel right. That just something's up. Or even using Gabby's instinct. Gabby would not constantly. I just made it a rule to have her tell me whenever she had an intuition. I go, listen, if you have an intuition of any kind, because she, at one point she had an intuition about one of the days I didn't do it and I went out and got hurt. She's like, oh, I had an intuition about that. I'm like, whenever you have an intuition about something going on, tell me. At least then I'll have the warning. Maybe I won't not go, maybe I won't not go, but at least I'll be heads up. I'll be like, okay, well, be a little more cautious today. And so, I think that people, that's part of it. And, and again, back to using Alex again, one more time, as something that I appreciate. The day he goes, I'm not good. I'm not going to go. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to go. It's like, hey, no problem. Perfect. I mean, that, I think you have to do that. You have to, because then in a way you take the control into your own hands.